Good morning. Today is Wednesday, December 29th, 2021. My name is Terry Morgan, and we are here to practice Wudang Taiji Sword. This is the last class in this series. I have been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. The end of this year, which is in 2 days, I'm going to take a break. 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe-ish. Come back the end of January with a new format, some additional materials, I guess is a good way to say it. I am going to be recording some other things. So part of the new format is there will be recordings of whatever it is. There will be some discussion plus background for what that movement is, what that system is, what we're doing. And there'll be some analysis, some little bit of movement, a little bit of discussion, where there'll be a bit more focus on a particular thing for a period of time, as opposed to what I've been doing, which is something a little bit different every day. There'll still be recordings, there'll still be a library of previous recordings, as well as this new stuff. Okay, new stuff, right? I want to include a full set of Wudang Taiji and Wudang Taiji Sword and jian style Taiji, so that I'm in a space where I don't have to back up. Alright, here I have to back up. I have to do something in order to finish the form. I either have to adjust my step, right? I've talked about this quite a bit in addition to sword form, that my step changes according to what I'm doing, what space I have, and whatever else is around me. What I want to do is go outside and record where I don't have a space limitation. There's not going to be any ceiling. I need to be clear of the trees, but I can do that. The idea is that as we practice, we want to bring the full form together. It might not be possible every time to go outside and practice. At some point, you have to see it. You have to know this is what it looks like when there's no space constraint. Alright, the other part of that is being able to analyze the movements and then put them back into the form, so that as the movements are done, they're done completely and correctly. That complete and correct is relative to what you're doing. There are some things that are a range. There's a range of things that we can do that would be correct. Stepping method, hand method, a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, this kind of thing. We can do that within what is correct. There are some things that, yeah, we shouldn't be doing that. Don't do that, right? What I just did, I don't know what that is. No. There are moves that will go there But that's, yeah, saying hello to the tall grandson. Yeah, that's it. That's, as we extend, okay, here's the point. As we extend, there's purpose and there's meaning behind what we're doing. Put the coffee down, we're going to stretch, work on the sword form. This idea that there's meaning behind what we're doing matters. I've talked about it, and I'll talk about it again once we pick up the sword, right? This idea of slice across, stab in, slice down, slice up, all of that, the meaning behind what we're doing, right? If there's no meaning, if this is just wave the hand in the air, wave the sword in the air, right? No. That's not what we want to be doing. We want the meaning to be there. Alright, feet about shoulder width apart. Open the arms, relax the shoulders, bend the knees, relax the lower back, pull up through the head, hand circle to the front, back around both sides, up along the center line. Stretch out. Keep the knees bent as you go over. Pull up through the center as you reach up. Last time, follow the hands. Stretch up, elbows drop down, wrists, fingertips, hands return to your sides. This stretch and a few others, get the sword, are part of a series of fundamental exercises that I learned when I first started studying Yang style Tai Chi. There are, and I've talked about this previously, I'm going to talk about it again, there are some basic moves, if you will, that we practice through Wudang's 3 basic methods, that we practice through Wudang Taiji, that we practice through most of the martial arts systems. There are certain things that we do. I have not yet recorded all of this. I should. I need to. There's some of it that we are going to use today. Sword class. Alright, so I talked about this idea just now. I talked about the idea of this slice, stab in, slice down. Pay attention to this idea of what's the intent behind. I'm going to turn around and we do some figure 8. Feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. Bend the knees. Left hand. Yeah, left hand at the right shoulder. Come across. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pay attention to how the blade turns, the direction of the blade, and what you're doing through the tip of the blade. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Rest. Alright. Tip of the blade. It's not here. It's not down here. Okay. Alright. This level of concentration, this level of extension, carries through the whole body. Right? The idea that it's over here. So if I step here, well, I know. Here, yes. Right? Straight, yes. We have that. We have that. And we're going backwards when we do it. These movements and the way that we do them with the sword have direct connection to how we move without the sword, Taiji form, as well as what that extension looks like once we have it. Paying attention to this connection. I have something, I need to pay attention to it. What have I got? What can I do with it? Right? A sword is traditionally not a blunt instrument. It's not. Mine is old and well worn, and the edge is not sharpened. The tip's still a little pointy, but it's metal, so there's that. Otherwise, yeah, no, it's well worn. If I had a stick, short stick, what I could do with a short stick is not slice. I can stab with a stick. Slice across, I'm not going to be able to slice. Can I come across as if I were slice? Side. Yes, I can. There's no edge. There's no idea that behind this there's a slice, right? We pay attention to these kinds of things. They're not physical, obvious things that we have to say, oh, look, that motion and this hand goes here and that hand goes there, that we have some of that. That's true. But behind that, is there something? Is there something? Is there the intent? Is there the understanding of what you're doing, what you might be doing, and how the movement that you're doing follows through with that idea, that intent? Pay attention to that. I know it's a lot. Pay attention to that as we practice. Wudang Taiji Sword. Feet together, stand straight. I want to start here, but I'm going to start over here. Actually, move over a little bit. Okay. Here. Feet together, stand straight. Pull up through the crown of the head. Relax the breath, relax the upper body. Pay attention, keep the shoulders down. Salute. Breathe. And breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. Transfer the weight to the right. Breathe out, sink. Open left, turn. And turn. Left side, right side. 1, 2, 3. Turn around. And turn down. Slice. One, two, three. In. 1, 2, down. Almost. And close. Alright. No, I didn't talk through that. We're going to do it again. It's alright. We'll do it again. What I was paying attention to was me, right? And trying to control for the space, which I was pretty close to most of it. I did misstep a couple of times. I thought I wanted to take a bigger step. I did. All right. This sort of practice, and I talk about this quite a bit with the behind the idea of the practice, right? We're here to practice. I'm here to practice. Part of my goal is, as I go through, I'm also working on my own practice, right? As I go through every day, I'm working on my own practice as well. And that idea that I'm here to practice, I'm not here to perform. Right? There is some performance, I have to, right? But the idea isn't, I'm going to be perfect every day. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. How do we practice? How do we get better? This idea of, yeah, well, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do something. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna get better at whatever it is? And what does it mean to get better? Right? What I just did, and what we're going to do, again, just a second, is to try to control my step and my extension, right, for this space, so that I did not have to stop. I didn't have to back up. I didn't want to have to back up. I didn't want to have to do something else. I wanted to be able to keep going. Not so easy, but there were two places that, yeah, I could have used just a little bit different step, and where I'm going to try again. The taking form apart, piece by piece, and working on this piece, working on that piece, is part of what I'm doing this morning. How does it fit back in? every time I take something apart, every time I look at, okay, here's the stepping method for this. This is where this is how I'm gonna step, this is what I need to do, turn, move this, turn here, right? That whole long list of things that we pay attention to. When I focus on that, it also gives me the range through which I can step. Right? It's not, your foot must be this distance, right? That's what your ideal, your foot is this distance, it's regular. It's based on your own body, not on a particular metric, right? So how do we measure my foot? How many of my feet? What's the distance? There's also part of the strength that I have through my legs to continue that step. Can I get there? Yeah. Can I do anything once I'm there? Well, I don't know. Right? That idea behind what we're doing. How much? Where's that step? When we take something apart, when we analyze it, right? That gives us the range. All right, what is, if my knee is bent here, I need to step back. And there we go. All right. Let me do that. There we go. All right, so if my left knee is bent here, right, and I pick up my right foot, put my right heel down, that step, how much distance there is, depends on my leg, how much my knee is bent. If I overstep, I might not be able to get out of it, right? I can sink more, and my step extends because I sank more. The stronger the supporting leg, the more we sink, the longer the step can be. How to judge that, how to understand what that step, my knee's bent here, I step, right? My knee's just barely bent, and my step. The knee has to be bent, that's required. How much it's bent depends on how much strength is in the leg. It should be more, right? These little things all go into that analysis so that when we're trying to control for space, we can. Try again. Feet together. Stand straight. Relax the breath. Relax through the upper back. Breathe. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Salute. Breathe out. Breathe in. Sink. Open. Turn. And press up. Slice across, up, in, down. Come across again and around. Turn. Small step. Small step again. And close. So there. This range, if I work on it a little bit more, I'll end up not only just almost in the same spot, but exactly in the same spot. We want this. The challenge is this control for space. How much space do I have? What can I use of the space that I have? How much of it can I use? Right, so I'm cut off at the knees here. If I want you to see my feet, I need to be back here, okay? Right? There are walls, right? All of this contributes to what I'm going to be able to use of the space that's available, right? The skill, the art, part of what we do in the art is to learn to control for that. Where am I? What am I doing? What's around me? Right? Putting everything into long sequence gives us a couple of things. One, it gives us the connections between the movements, how we get from one to another. Right? Gives us a rhythm for the movements. Series, we start out, there's Wudang Taiji has some ebb and flow to it. It's not just nice and it's not as even as Yang style Tai Chi, but there is that ebb and flow that is part of the form. It's not static by any means, and that rhythm is part of doing form. Now, there are places that I made mistakes. Yeah, I could talk about that at length, and other times I will. The idea, and let's do the ending one more time. The idea behind where's the sword, what am I doing with it, that intent, how I move and what I'm doing is all part of that continuous flow. If my step is off, the next step won't be quite so even, right? I have to correct for it. Maybe 2 steps won't be quite so even. I have to correct. Where I make those changes, how I do that, is part of that practice that says, I'm going to put my foot here, and I'm going to put my other foot here. And you can't see my feet. This foot here, this foot here. That's it. I want to be able to do this without having to think about it. It's going right there. I don't have to think about it. I've done it so many times that when I decide that my foot's going there, that's where it goes. That's what we want. This last series, as we start up, right? Go up, turn around, come back. 1, 2, 3. This one. Right foot front, left foot back, left foot, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Turn around, and down, little step, down, cross, and jump, down, sit back, come around, up, down, down again, cross, close. That series, right? I come up, I go back, right? Tracking where you step. Couple of places I called out, small step, right? As we came around, as I turned around, smaller step here. I want to do this, but then I hit the wall over there, so I didn't. Smaller step. That doesn't change what I'm doing with the blade. Didn't change what I'm doing with the blade, right? The idea of down, still there, in, still there, right? The only difference is my step is a little bit smaller. Right? Paying attention to that connection. There's a fairly wide range of moves that I just did in a fairly small space. That turnaround part. Okay? This is part of what we want to pay attention to in our practice. What am I doing? What's the space that I'm in? What space do I have? How am I using that space? What am I doing with it? Right? This idea, what goes behind, is fundamental to all of our practice, everything that I teach. It's fundamental in the context of sword because we want to pay attention to the idea that we have a double-sided blade, pointy end, right? It's not a single-sided blade. That would feel different. Some things would still be we'd still use the same. Other things will be different. There are, I talked about having a stick, blunt object, as opposed to what might be a sharp object, right? Even a slice across is not done with the same intent. You have a stick versus a sharp object, right? This idea behind the ability to understand the movement, to understand what goes behind it, and to follow through with how we do that movement, how we do those movements, how they're connected. All of that goes into our practice. It's all part of what we do. There's no, this is I mean, how do I say this? How do I say this? All of our practice has what we're doing at its core, right? This idea of, I'm just kind of waving this around, and you know, it's paper, so it moves. This is not paper. It's not. It's old. It's metal. It has weight. It is nicely balanced also. Okay? But my point is that as I practice with this sword, I understand what it might have done at the time that these forms were created. Okay? In historical times, sword was a common jewelry, a common accessory. All right, there were times when it was a necessary accessory. All right, the skill. What can I do with the blade? How can I adjust? How can I make this come across in this back? Right? This comes down. What do I do with the blade? What do I do with it? What might I do with it? Those ideas that go behind what I've got. Yeah. Double edge, not single edge. This long, not this long, not this long. Right? All of those things matter to my dexterity, my ability to do something with the blade. As we practice that extension of what we're doing, that extension of how I move in my Tai Chi form, how I apply the energy through the movement, the kinds of applications that might exist, right? Kinds of things, doesn't have to be one thing, kinds of things that I might do. How does that apply to the strength that I'm using through the movement? What am I doing? Paying attention to that idea behind that intent is essential for all of our practice. It's not something that's it's not separate, and it's not something that every time I have to think about this is doing what to what opponent. No. The intent behind it, can this move connected fully, what might I do with that? Slice here, right? That idea, slice, is what I want to pay attention to. Not what I might be slicing. It could be a pumpkin. It could be pumpkin pie, I don't know. It could be, the Mark of Zorro kind of thing, right? Could be whatever. Point being, let me do this. What did I just do? What did I just do? Do it again. What did I just do? Nothing. What did I just do? Again? What did I just do? What might I do? Hi. Alright? There's a difference. It matters. My hope is that what I've been presenting, and part of this class, and this is the idea behind, that there's some movement that I speak very little. I may make some adjustments to that, but very little. There's other parts that I stopped and I talked about something in particular for the form, something in particular for a particular move. We repeated a couple of things in places. We talked about the stepping methods and how we control for space. And then this idea of what goes behind, what we're paying attention to. And the idea that as we're practicing, we want to pay attention to this idea of what goes behind, that it's not empty. Whatever we're doing, it's not empty. Unless that's what we wanted. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but no, it's not empty. Okay? That intent matters, so that it's not just waving things around, and what kind of thing matters as well. Alright, let me put this down, sip of coffee. As we finish up class this morning, this is the last in this series, I will be teaching Dragon Sword. It's coming up. I had planned to start in 2022, and that's on my list. It's going to be in a new format. The material that I just covered is just covered. Alright, I'm going to catalog it so that it's easier to find. But that's part of my break time is go in and catalog some of what I've already recorded, so it's easier to find some of these lessons. I'm then going to look at what's not there, what the gaps are, and I'm going to start to put that material together to close those gaps so that there's a much more consistent and regular kind of a presentation. Some of what I have will be kept and some will be edited. Everything that's important is still going to be there. I intend to, and I mentioned this at the beginning, I intend to record a full series, the whole thing, of Wudang style Taiji Sword. I'm going to do Wudang Taiji again. I have a couple of versions that I've done that are useful for what I did at the time. I need to do something else and add to that, so we'll do that again. I'm going to do that. As I build this library, I'm also going to be doing some commentary on what I did. Alright, so here's this form, and at this point in this form, this is what we're going to pay attention to today. I'm going to take that out, we'll work on it, we'll do some analysis, and then we'll put it back into the context of the bigger form and how that works. I'm hopeful that this new format is going to bring out some things that I haven't brought out just yet. So some of the philosophy behind what we're doing, some of the practice methods, things that I take for granted that maybe I shouldn't take so much for granted, so I need to record them. Alright? There's some things that alright, so there's gonna be more. I appreciate everybody that has followed me through this. I appreciate everybody that's here this morning, and I'll be back towards the end of January. There'll be more Wudang Taiji Sword. We'll look at Dragon Sword. I'll take a look at it. I maybe do a little bit. Alright, and then I'm going to get started with what we're going to do in this new format. I haven't decided what I'm going to start with yet. So there's a part of that. I want to come back to Xingyi, Bagua, Tai, not Tai Chi, Tai, and Dragon Sword. There's a couple other things that I want to include, so there's still quite a bit. I hope you'll be here with me for it. Thank you so much.